Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here, and perhaps this year I have some extra holiday spirit because I've decided to make a second handmade ornament. Now, as you might know, I do a handmade ornament every single year. It's my yearly tradition, and then I gift these to my friends and family as something that they can put on a Christmas tree right away. I think this is a great little gift. It definitely is very special. It serves as a keepsake, and I know that this is going to be loved and used. You can make these by hand or you can make these on a sewing machine. I'll show you both ways. This one was actually made by my daughter. She's about 6 years old, and if she can do it, then you can totally do it as well. It's a fun little project to sort of dive into something else, something a little bit different than just regular garment sewing or perhaps quilting. You will need these little hoops, which perhaps you will need to order. I did get mine from Amazon, so don't hate on me. There were 9 in a pack, and I will link them in the description if you want to take a look. Then you will also need a fabric that will go into the hoop. I like to use linen. I think that it gives that really nice rustic feel, but you can also use cotton linen blend or just regular cotton. Scraps are really great for that. And you will see that most of my backgrounds are white. You don't have to stick with white. You can do another color as well. It's all definitely up to you. You will also need to have some sort of ribbon to tie around your ornament so that way you can put it on the tree, and colorful thread. Now, you don't have to have embroidery thread. It definitely helps if you do, but it's not necessary. A regular colorful thread will do just fine. One more thing that I would suggest to have for this project is some light or medium weight interfacing, just some regular interfacing that you use in garment sewing. It's not exactly necessary, but I do feel that it will add more longevity to your ornaments, and that's always the key, right? To have it and cherish it and to look back at it years to come. First, grab your hoop and a piece of fabric scrap that you're going to be using for your embroidery. Now, in my case, this is a fabric scrap of white linen. We're going to cut another circle out of it that's going to be a little bit bigger than the diameter of the hoop. I just found that using this roll of tape as a template works really well. So, just to give you some visual, this is how the hoop fits inside this roll of tape. And the diameter here is about 4 3/4, so nearly 5 inches. I'm going to outline this with my water-soluble pen, and then we're going to cut it out. Next, if you're going to be doing free motion embroidery on your sewing machine, we're going to interface it, so we'll need to cut out exactly the same circle from interfacing. If you're going to be doing it by hand, then I would leave it as is for right now. Place the interfacing bumpy or rough side up, and then place your fabric right on top of it. And usually interfacing comes with instructions of how much heat to apply and for how long. So just follow those instructions to fuse these two together. After that, I take the entire hoop, place it right in the middle, grab my water-soluble pen and circle around it so that way I know how big of a design I can afford in order to not to kind of spill all over the place. With that comes the most fun and creative part, thinking about what would you like to put on your ornament. The biggest step when choosing the design for your ornament is in the name of the technique, so thread sketching. So choose something that would look good when it's sketched out. I wouldn't necessarily go for something that you will need to fill in exactly, and I also wouldn't necessarily go for something that requires super duper precision. So I found that for these little ornaments, the best way is to go for some foliage where you would be able to make these beautiful organic sketched lines. I really like this little Christmas tree in a pot, so I'm just going to sketch it out on this one as well. If you need, you can of course sketch out yours to be in more detail, but for right now, I'm gonna roll with this. Before we move on to the sewing machine, separate your hoop, get your piece of fabric, place it on top of the larger hoop, the one that has this little screw on top, like this, and then place the smaller one to the inside. You might need to scoot it down just a little bit so that way we can have enough space to complete the branches and then to complete the little pot. And then push it in. Once that is done, we can move on to the sewing machine. Now, when I do thread sketching on garment sewing, and by the way, it's a fascinating technique, it's so beautiful, I definitely recommend, then usually I just remove the press foot and that's it. But here, because the hoop is so small, I actually need to remove the part that holds the presser foot. For that, I do have a little screwdriver that came together with my sewing machine, and it's really easy. Just 1, 2, 3, and it comes off. Just make sure that if you do this, that you don't lose the actual parts, and you remember how to put them back together. Next, you will need to lower or cover your feed dogs, whatever is available on your sewing machine. And if at all possible, decrease the stitch length all the way to 0 on your straight stitch. From here, choose the color thread that you would like. And if you do have variegated thread, I would highly suggest that because it definitely adds a little pop of interest and pop of color to your entire piece with very, very little effort. Then grab your project, bring it underneath the needle and decide which way that you would like to start. And for me, I think I'm going to start upside down. Now, although we have removed the presser foot and a little attachment, we still need to lower the entire thing before we get started. Then I like to hold the end of the thread with my left hand and lower the needle into my project by hand cranking it first. After that, let's pull up the bobbin thread. My bobbin thread is this silver color, so you might not be able to see it too clearly, but it is right over here. Now we're going to go over this little thread just a couple of times, almost like staying in one place, so that way we can secure it. Once done, you can take your scissors and snip the end of the thread, so that way it's out of the way. Using the embroidery hoop almost like the steering wheel, I'm going to move it back and forth, side to side, and thread sketch each of the branches of this pine tree. Now remember that your stitches are not going to be all uniform, and that's totally fine in this situation because we're working with lowered feed dogs. We're also working without the presser foot, and the stitch length is down all the way to 0 because in this case your movements are controlling the stitch length and which direction you're gonna go. Please don't feel discouraged if at first it doesn't turn out exactly as you want it. Just give it a try. A little bit of practice is definitely gonna go a long way, and you'll be making something beautiful in no time. Once done, I'm actually going to take this sparkly thread and I'm going to do one more pass on top because I think that it adds this sort of effect of tinsel or snow being on this little Christmas tree, and that's what I'm going for. If you look at it a little closer, and I'm not sure if camera is really doing it justice, but there is a little sparkle after the second pass, and I really love that. After this, we're going to move on to the pot. I'm going to reposition my fabric, making sure that the pot now is inside of the circle, so that way I can easily reach it with the needle of a sewing machine. When done, I'm going to remove my fabric from the hoop and then put it back the right way that it's supposed to be. So over the small circle, I'm going to position my little tree in the pot and then place the large circle right on top of it, so that way it frames it nicely. If I can see some marks of my water-soluble marker, at this point I would head to the sink, grab a little sponge, and dab a little bit of water so that way it goes away. It will also give your project a sharper, crisper look if you give it a really good press before finally putting it back into the hoop. Let me show you the front of the ornament and the back ornament. And the back is not finished just yet, but before we move on to that, let's explore very quickly the hand embroidered option. When doing embroidery by hand, I have found that opting for thicker thread definitely makes a positive difference in the look. So that's what I'm going to be using here. My daughter here is working on another star design, so I'm going to show it on her example. As you can see, the star design is outlined. For a child, I have opted for a larger needle, so that way it's just easier to handle it. And also, we do not have any interfacing on the back of this linen. Otherwise, it's just really hard to pierce through the fabric and the interfacing. So I opt for adding interfacing after the design is completed. So we have our needle and our thread, and we're simply going to follow the outline, bring the thread out, bring it back to the previous position. There we go. Then go one further, bring it back to the previous position through the fabric, and repeat that until entire design is complete. Sometimes combining multiple thinner threads works really well, but then it can easily get tangled. So definitely take a look at which option you like better. I definitely have just the very basic hand embroidery skills, very basic, so I'm not an expert at all. But even with those basic skills, you can complete and make a beautiful ornament. That's how this Snoopy, this flamingo, and the little star came about. The star was made by my daughter, and then the Snoopy and flamingo were made by me. To complete the back of the ornament, we're going to grab another piece of fabric and we're going to cut a circle out of it that was the same size as this circle, the one that we cut out for our embroidery, which was a little bit bigger than the hoop itself. So in my case, it was 5 inches in diameter, and that's what I'm going here for. Now grab your regular hand sewing needle and your regular thread, and let's do a running stitch on the edge of this circle. The steps for hand embroidered and machine embroidered ornament for this part are going to be exactly the same. Once we've gone a full circle, we're going to use it to cinch it in and bring it together and form a circle. It's similar to making a fabric yo-yo if you're familiar with those. And it doesn't have to be a precise circle because we're going to manipulate it with our fingers in the next step. Then grab your ornament and bring in the fabric to the inside. Then grab your iron and sort of press it in a little bit. Now be careful, if you're using a plastic hoop, then you won't be able to do that. Otherwise, you'll melt your hoop. So just be aware of what materials, what fabrics, and what tools you're working with. Now grab this gathered circle and place on top of it. We just want to make sure that it's big enough to cover it. And if it's not, then we're gonna loosen it up a little bit. If it's too big, we're gonna bring it in a little bit. You get the point. We just want to make sure that it will go on top of it, covering all of this business in the back. Now with the same needle, I will go into the edge of my fabric circle. There we go. And then I'm going to place it on the back. And we're going to start stitching it. So from here, I'm going to place my needle into the white linen and pull it through. Through the beige linen into the white linen and pull it through. And I'll continue doing that all the way around. Now I must say there's always another way how you can do this or that. And of course you can use some glue instead of doing hand sewing. I did that on this little example. However, it's not my favorite result. It's not bad, it's just not my favorite. I think that hand sewing looks way better in the case of this handmade ornament. To make a little bow with the loop at the top of the ornament, first we're going to cut our ribbon to about 18 inches. Next, I'm going to take the ribbon, place it right here, and pull it through. Then I'm going to bring the ends together, and right here on top, I'm going to form a loop. Next, I'm going to place my thumb right over here, and I'm going to switch hands, move the top one out of the way, bring the bottom one over, like this. Sling it across the back, bring it over, and then tie this in a knot. That is going to secure this loop. After that, we're going to take the left side, form a little loop like this, then bring it over to the right side, and I'm holding it with my thumb. Then bring the other end on top of it. And through here, we're going to bring in the other side. And since my ribbon has a print on one side, we just want to make sure that we sort of twist the ribbon in the process so that way everything is right side up. After that, just tighten it up, make it real pretty, and cut off the ends on the angle. That's it, your little bow and loop is ready. If you need to watch this again, you can do that. And if you didn't know, you can also adjust the speed of your YouTube video so you can make it slower so that way you can see all of the necessary details. As a final touch, and you know that sometimes I do like to add a little of sparkle, and it's holiday season, so why not? And I already had these on hand, and they were left over from the diamond painting kit for these little magnets. So in order to attach these to the ornaments, I used just a regular permanent fabric glue that I had for a few years now. Definitely a solid choice, and they're on there quite securely. Here's the final look after the glue has dried. Now last year I also made round ornaments, but with a different technique, and I really love them. So definitely take a look at this tutorial right over here. We're using different techniques. All of these are made with fabric plus stitching on top of it, and I truly hope that you're going to enjoy it. So click right over there. Until next time, happy thoughtful sewing. I'll see you soon. Bye.